All right, good morning and welcome to the Hawaii State Capitol Conference Room 229. This is our State Senate Committee on Commerce and Consumer Protection 9:30 a.m. Agenda. We have 4 measures on this agenda, immediately followed by a 9:35 a.m. agenda where we will consider one bill with 2 of our counterpart committees. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube, and I just want to note that in the unlikely event that we need to end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Tuesday, February 6th at 10 a.m. in this room, and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. For testifiers participating remotely, your audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. We don't have much testimony on this first agenda, but for those who are already on with us for the second, there are over 400 pieces of testimony submitted for the hearing. There are 24 at least testifiers who have signed up to provide live testimony in person or on Zoom. And as such, this committee will institute its normal protocol of asking testifiers to limit their testimony to 2 minutes in order to allow everyone who signed up an equal amount of time to present their thoughts. If you submit in testimony, if you're one of the 400 who have submitted written testimony, it is in the record. It is posted online on the Hawaii State Legislature's website, and I have reviewed every single piece of testimony. So I would encourage you to use your time to clarify or further explain your written remarks instead of verbatim reading what you've already submitted in writing, because we've already reviewed it. And mahalo, this committee is piloting new procedures this year. There's a 48-hour testimony submission deadline, so I'd like to mahalo the hundreds of you who got your testimony in on time. Gold stars for everybody, thank you. So we'll begin, and I'll be reading from a list of individuals. There's closed captioning on the YouTube feed, so if your name isn't reflected appropriately, I know the feeling, and we'll try and get that corrected. Okay, mahalo. First measure is SB 2121 relating to the Mortgage Loan Recovery Fund. This authorizes consumers aggrieved by the conduct of a mortgage loan originator licensee to recover from the Mortgage Loan Recovery Fund. First and only testifier for the DCCA Division of Financial Institutions, Iris Ikeda, in support.
Aloha.
Good morning.
Aloha, Chair. My name is Iris Ikeda. I'm the Commissioner for the Division of Financial Institutions, and we are in support of this bill. This bill will do 3 things for us. It will, 1, clarify that consumers who have been aggrieved by conduct of any individual mortgage loan originator can also recover from that individual as well as from the company. Secondly, this bill would increase consumer protection by authorizing the use of money of the fund for education for our staff, more importantly, for our industry and for consumers. And then thirdly, it will make consistent the provisions in 454F41 and 454F42. I'd be available for questions. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. That's all the submitted testimony we have for this measure. Is there anyone else present who would like to testify? Members, any questions for the DCCA?
Quick question.
Senator McKelvey.
Still there, Iris, or you take off? Oh, there she is. You there?
Minute. Yes.
Oh, hey.
Just trying to unmute.
How much of the fund do you anticipate using for education under if this?
So it's up to $50,000.
Okay, so $50,000 now under this bill passed will give you the flexibility to use $50K of the fund for education public outreach, right?
Right. What we
And
want to do is to go to the other islands to deliver this education to consumers and to our licensees in person.
Okay, that's kind of high price to do that, to be honest with you, but because I just feel philosophically you should probably use as much as you can for the actual recovery But anyway, thank you for appreciate you delineating that. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Members, any other questions on this measure? Okay, seeing none, before we move to the next measure, I'm going to recess briefly. Recess. Okay, good morning. We're back in on this 9:30 a.m. Friday, February 2nd agenda. We had a little glitch with testimony and wanted to make sure that it was available to the members before we heard the measures. So thank you for your patience. The next measure on the agenda is SB 2239 relating to consumer protection. This measure prohibits any person from advertising, displaying, or offering a price for a transient accommodation or resort timeshare, vacation interest plan, or unit that does not include all taxes and fees imposed by a government entity at the time of purchase. Let me see. We have two testifiers. The first is the Hawaii Tourism Authority with comments.
Chair, members, stand on the record.
Thank you for standing on your testimony. We also have Robert Singleton of the Chamber of Progress submitting written testimony in opposition. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this measure? Members, any questions for the HTA? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next measure, which is SB 2697 relating to professional licensure. This authorizes the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs to revoke the licenses of architects who have been or caused an employee of the DCCA to be convicted of a criminal offense involving the acceptance of a bribe. Testifying for the Board of Professional Engineers, Architects, Surveyors, and Landscape Architects, we have Sheena Choi with comments online. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm testifying on behalf of Kevin Katsuyama. My name is Sheena Choi. I'm the Executive Officer for the Board of Professional Engineers, Architects, Surveyors, and Landscape Architects. The board would like to stand on its written testimony, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the registered testimony we have. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, members' questions? Okay, I have a question for Ms. Choi. Yeah, thank you. This measure appears to be a response to an article written in a report in September about a licensee of this board who was convicted of a felony charge of bribery over 2 years ago, and as of that September report had not been removed, had not had his license revoked. Has there been any action taken since then? I believe the department and the board refused to comment on that incident.
I understand. So I can't comment on any specific or pending cases, but just generally the process for action against the licensee is that a complaint is filed with RICO, the Regulated Industries Complaints Office, and RICO investigates, and if credible evidence of a violation of a licensing law is found, RICO can petition the board to impose discipline against the licensee, either through a settlement agreement or a contested case hearing. Typically, when it comes to disciplinary action before the board, licensees are afforded due process. Sometimes the licensee will choose not to voluntarily surrender their license, and at that point, they'll enter into a contested case hearing. And RICO must prove the case before the board can impose any discipline. But again, that's just generally how the process works.
So once the process is completed, the enforcement actions taken by the department are published publicly though, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so has that taken place in this instance?
So the case is still pending.
All right.
That's all I can comment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no other questions, we will move to the last measure on this 9:30 a.m. agenda. That's SB 2720. Relating to residential tenants, this measure establishes a process by which a neighbor of a tenant may seek relief from the tenant's landlord for acts of harassment by the tenant, and includes an alternative process for the eviction of tenants. Hawaii Realtors in opposition. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lindsay Garcia on behalf of the Hawaii Realtors. So we stand in opposition to this measure. We understand that whenever there is an issue between a tenant and a neighbor of the tenant, that the neighbor is able to seek remedy to the landlord and make a complaint, and then it's upon the landlord to give notice to that tenant and have them remedy that action, and that there is a process in place for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the Attorney General's office with comments in person. Good morning.
Good morning. Deputy AG Chris Hahn with comments on the bill. We've tried what we can with the bill, but even with the proposed amendments, we still have concerns as to the constitutionality of the measure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also have submitting written testimony, offering comments to the judiciary of the state of Hawaii, Natalie Iwasa in opposition, and Victor Ramos in support, submitting late testimony in support, Emma Steerhoff and Aaron Wan. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Members, any questions? I have a question for the Attorney General's office. Can you please outline there's an alternative process that I think was articulated, at least in the judiciary's testimony, but can you help us understand what alternative remedies might be available for a neighbor in this type of situation?
Sure. Our understanding was, at least as noted in our testimony, there is always the option of filing a TRO directly against the tenant as opposed to trying to track down the landlord as proposed by this bill. And in the instance of a condominium, the condominium statute allows the association of a homeowners association or an AOAO to step into the shoes of the landlord to evict the tenant as well.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions, members? Okay, unless there are any questions or concerns, I'm prepared to move into decision-making. Okay, so we'll move into voting on this agenda. The first measure is SB 2121, again, related to the relating to the mortgage loan recovery fund. Do we have vote sheets? So the recommendation on this measure is to pass with amendments. We will blank out the appropriation amount relating to education as proposed by the member from Maui. Is that correct? Okay, great. So passing with amendments, blanking the appropriation referring to the educational programming that was proposed in the measure. Any comments, concerns? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair, SB 2121 passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator McKelvey?
Yes.
Senator Richards?
Aye.
Senator Awa?
Aye.
Measure is adopted.
Thank you very much. The next measure is SB 2239 relating to consumer protection. The recommendation on this measure is to pass with a defective effective date of July 1, 2040. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair also votes aye. Of the remaining members, are any voting with reservations or with objections? Hearing none, measure is adopted.
Thank you very much. The next measure is SB 2697 relating to professional licensure. The recommendation on this measure, given the testimony, is to pass this measure out with amendments. In Section 1, subsection E, we will amend the permissive language, the may, and we will institute a shall instead, which will require the removal of licensure. And in response to the testimony from the DCCA, we'll expand out the definition, we'll expand out the application relating to employees of the DCCA to instead refer to government officials. And defective effective date to July 1, 2040. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair votes aye. Of the remaining members present, are there any voting with reservations or objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
Thank you very much. The last measure on the agenda is SB 2720 relating to residential tenants. The testimony's pretty clear that there are alternative mechanisms to address this and that this subject matter is probably legally problematic. So the recommendation on this is to defer indefinitely. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Okay, good morning and welcome. This is the 9:35 a.m. agenda on Friday, February 2nd in Conference Room 229, joint agenda between the Hawaii State Senate Committees on Commerce and Consumer Protection, the Committee on Energy, Economic Development and Tourism, and the Committee on Public Safety and Intergovernmental and Military Affairs to hear SB 2919 relating to property. This measure establishes and appropriates monies for a regulatory scheme for short-term rentals of dwelling units under the Business Registration Division of the DCCA. It also expands the zoning powers of counties and expands the scope of the transient accommodations tax law to include certain shelters and vehicles with sleeping accommodations. There are 440, as of the gavel in, there are 447 individuals that submitted written testimony on this measure, 304 in support, 134 in opposition, and 9 offering comments. We have about 24 individuals who signed up to submit live testimony, either in person or online. This is a 90-minute hearing space in this committee, so we do observe a 2-minute testimony time limit, as I mentioned earlier. We have received all your written testimony. I reviewed every single piece of testimony submitted. So we do encourage anyone who would like to testify to feel free to use your 2 minutes to expand out on your written testimony or clarify your remarks instead of reading your written testimony verbatim. If you'd like to stand on your testimony and provide your time for other members of the public who would like to share, we would highly welcome and encourage that as well, and hope that we can leave some time for Q&A for the members. With that said, we will begin. Testifying for the Department of Taxation, offering comments. We have, good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members. Eliza Watson from the Department of Taxation. The department stands on our written comments, and I'll be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the DCCA Business Registration Division with comments. Do we have them online? Good morning.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Rainy Nakamura Watanabe on behalf of the department's Business Registration Division. The department submitted comments on this bill, and we stand on our written testimony. I'll be available to answer any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the Hawaii State Association of Counties in support.
Thank you, Chair. Hawaii State Association of Counties stands on our written testimony and strong support.
Thank you for standing on your testimony. Holiday Home Rentals in opposition. Tracy Jackson. The Hawaii Hotel Alliance, Jerry Gibson in support.
Senator, thank you. I am strongly in support, and thank you for all of your support, I hope. And on this very important issue, I stand on my testimony.
Thank you for standing on your testimony. Next, we have the American Hotel and Lodging Association, Kikoa McClellan in support. Good morning.
Aloha Kakanyanka, Chair Keokolole, Chair Decoy, Chair Wakai, all of our members of the Joint Committee. Thank you so much for addressing this. We will stand mostly on our written testimony, which you have before you. I would like to take the opportunity to thank you for dealing with this issue. 8 sessions ago, we were before the Senate working on a bill that would have deemed licensed any rental listed on a platform. And for 8 sessions and for 8 years, the American Hotel and Lodging Association and our members have been working throughout the counties to deal with short-term rentals. In that time, there have been 8 changes to the laws at our counties, and we have made negative distance on clawing housing back for our workforce. We can pay people more. We can provide better living wages. We can do more for our employee base, but we cannot give them houses. And so we're here before you in strong support of this bill that would give our counties the flexibility they need and create bright lines and safe harbors to reclaim housing for our Kama'aina families. Happy to answer any questions should you folks have them of us. And again, mahalo for dealing with this most pressing issue. Aloha.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ivan Louis Kwan in support. Good morning.
Good morning. Chairs Keoholo Kalole, Decoit, and Wakai, and Vice Chairs Fukunaga, Wakai, and committee members, aloha. My name is Ivan Louis Kwan. I am legal counsel for the Hawai'i Hotel Alliance and certain members of the Alliance. My testimony relates to Section 2 of SB 2919. I would like to briefly amplify my written testimony by explaining the U.S. District Court's order, which resulted in finding illegal a portion of the City and County of Honolulu Ordinance 22-7. The subject of the court's decision is Hawaii Revised Statute 46-4. That's the statutory provision in which the state grants powers for zoning to the counties. In its October 13, 2022 order, the federal court states, and I'm quoting from the order, in deciding whether Ordinance 22-7 conflicts with the Hawaii Revised Statute Section 46-4A, the court first construes the relevant provision of the statute. When construing a statute, our foremost obligation is to ascertain and give effect to the intention of the legislature, which is obtained primarily from the language contained in the statute itself, and a close quote. So my point is that the federal court was seeking to ascertain the intent of the legislature in interpreting the words residential use in 46-4. The court determined, and I'm quoting from the order of December 21, 2023, just a little over a month ago, in which the court says, short-term rentals are residential in nature as tenants use the properties for ordinary living conditions. We request that SB 2919, that this body clarify the words residential use in 46-4, that they do not include short-term rentals. We ask this body to clarify that short-term rentals are not residential in nature, and short-term rentals are not included in the words residential use.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Next, we have Lindsay Garcia for Hawaii Realtors in opposition. Good morning.
Good morning, chairs. I'll make this brief. I'm standing mostly on my testimony. I just wanted to reiterate a couple points. We do support legal short-term rentals. We support common sense enforcement. We support the need for access for appropriate housing for every need and situation, which does, we believe, include legal short-term rentals. These types of rentals are essential for various situations, including when families are temporarily displaced due to home damage and when they're undergoing extensive renovations. Homeowners, neighbor island residents who are seeking medical care on Oahu, and traveling professionals such as healthcare, construction, and other workers engaged in projects across the state. A lengthy hotel stay may not be practical or may be too costly. And so we believe that it's important to preserve this industry for this reason and for others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have for Airbnb, David Louis in opposition. Good morning.
Thank you, Chair. Various chairs, vice chairs, I won't name you all, but thank you so much for the opportunity. I come to raise a number of issues and problems that I think are inherent in this bill. I appreciate what the legislature wants to try and do, but this bill is probably not the way to do it. There are serious constitutional provisions and constitutional principles involved in this, including due process, the takings clause, preemption, and equal protection. And all of these things are throughout this bill. Let me just go through a couple of things, and then I'll be happy to answer questions later if you want. First off, you've got punitive excessive penalties, $10,000 a day for not checking with a system that does not exist. Okay, so there's no way anybody can comply with this because there is no system of registration that is even in existence. That's a huge problem. So that would be a due process concern. Second, you're asking the platforms such as Airbnb to check on these things when there's nothing to check, and you've established a negligence standard of knew or should have known, which is vague and cannot be complied with, and creates liability that would run afoul of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Third, Section 46-4, which you're talking about amending, is really just a codification of the Fifth Amendment of the Federal Constitution and the first article of the Hawaii State Constitution. You can't take property without paying for it, and so this is going to create huge liabilities. If you amend this, you still run into the takings problem. It will create gigantic liabilities for the counties. If that's what they want, that's fine, but people have relied upon this stuff. And finally, you've got some really vague things here about natural persons. You have to be present during the rental, and
Thank you very much,
permanent occupancy.
Mr. Louis.
Thank you.
If you can remain,
I'd be
if there's
happy to.
questions,
Yes,
then
I
we
understand.
certainly would like to have your responses.
Thank you.
Next, we have Councilmember Kiani Rollins Fernandez in support. Good morning.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, and honorable committee members. First, a quick mahalo to you, Chair, for piloting these new posting procedures. I'm into it. Mahalo for this opportunity to testify in strong support of SB 2919. I'm Maui County Council Member Kiani Rollins Fernandez. You have my 2 suggested amendments for consideration in my written testimony, similar to what Mr. Louis Kwan spoke to earlier. As noted by Chair Ke'ohakalole in today's Civil Beat article, to say that a 30-day use is not commercial use is just ridiculous. Opponents will claim that this bill is unconstitutional. However, the federal court in Flint v. County of Kauai stated that a regulation does not constitute a taking under the Fifth Amendment if the regulation does not deny a landowner all economically viable use of the property and if the regulation substantially advances a government interest. Hawaii Land Use Law Professor David Callies confirmed in the same Civil Beat article today, it's pretty settled doctrine that you can amortize a non-conforming use, adding, prohibiting short-term rentals wouldn't be considered a taking of private property in violation of the constitutional rights because the properties still could be used for housing by the owners or rented out long-term. But regardless, this legal analysis on takings is not necessary for today's hearing. SB 2919 is not unconstitutional and should be passed out today. This measure would simply empower each county to determine what is in the public good for their respective county. We should not be held prisoner to the decisions past policymakers made based on the information they had at the time. We now have the benefit of observing the consequences of those past decisions, and it is our responsibility to craft laws in response to those observations to prevent further harm to our people. Laws are not meant to be stagnant. They're meant to evolve as our environment and needs evolve. Working hard to secure shelter for over 7,000 residents after a fire devastatingly burned down the town of Lahaina has made it undeniable that how we use our housing, how housing is used is a critical piece to housing our people. As a sitting council member for the County of Maui, elected by the majority of my constituents, it is on their behalf that I flew here today to testify in person in strong support of SB 2919. I'll be here for questions if there are any. Mahalo.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we have Mike Sullivan in support. Manu Akana in support. Juliana Weinberg in opposition. These are all individuals who submitted testimony and registered to participate in person. Daryl Wilson in opposition. Wayne Tanaka for the Sierra Club in support. Online, good morning.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Sierra Club, Wayne Tanaka for the Sierra Club of Hawaii. We are in strong support of this measure. I'll stand on my written testimony, but just want to mahalo the legislators for putting this forward and for the folks from Maui Komohana who are leading the charge on this very important piece of legislation. Mahalo nui.
Thank you very much. Lahaina Strong in support online. Good morning. Good morning.
Aloha,
Aloha.
Chair and committee members. My name is Jordan Rubides, and I'm here on behalf of Lahaina Strong, a community organization committed to the recovery and resilience of Lahaina Maui. The devastating fires on August 8th left our community grappling with the loss of homes, businesses, and a sense of stability. As we work towards recovery, it is crucial to address the housing crisis exacerbated by an overwhelming reliance on short-term rentals in our region.
If you can hold your mic a little closer, please, sorry. A little bit closer on the mic.
Sorry, we're on the laptop.
Yeah, yeah.
SB 2919 plays a pivotal role in clarifying existing state law and empowering counties to take necessary steps to regulate transient vacation rentals. One of the primary challenges we face in Maui County is the prevalence of short-term rentals, particularly in the aftermath of the fires. North of Lahaina town, which is what's left of Lahaina, 80% of our housing units are operating as short-term rentals. We are witnessing the repercussions of an unregulated industry that has disrupted our community. SB 2919 seeks to rectify this situation by allowing each county to define transient vacation rental units in their zoning code. It provides the necessary flexibility for counties to address the unique housing challenges they face. It is essential to emphasize that this bill does not impose an overnight change. Instead, it empowers local jurisdictions to enact measures that align with their community's needs and characteristics. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the Rental by Owner Awareness Association, Alicia Humiston, in opposition. Good morning.
Good morning. Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. Rental by Owner Awareness Association stands on its testimony. Thank you for reading it. I personally have a couple of things to say.
If you can speak a little louder, that would be helpful for the committee. I think Zoom is coming in a little softly, so.
Sure.
Thank you.
My personal comments on this, this tragedy that happened in Maui is, of course, horrific. But there are 5,000 condo hotels and vacation units on the west side, very high concentration. There are about 6,500 units for the hotel and timeshares. 4,000 of these condo hotels were built before 1980. So they're more than 40 years old. Most of these properties are in the water. They're one bedrooms, one parking spot. They are really not conducive for living. The thought of just being able to take short-term rentals away on the west side, convert them to long-term rentals, is not going to solve the issue. And for the UHERO report of April 18, 2023, it said that the housing prices would drop from 4 to 6%. Well, in 2022, the median price was $860,000. So that would now make it the 810 to 820 range. So it's still unaffordable. The second issue is the AOAO fees are astronomical in most of these places due to the age of their building and costs associated. Insurance alone this year is going to be nuts. From our place, it went from 100,000 to 1.1 million a year for just insurance. Thank you for allowing me to testify. I hope you defer this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have for Housing Hawaii's Future, Sterling Higa in support. Good morning.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members. Sterling Higa testifying in support on behalf of Housing Hawaii's Future. I want to stand by my written testimony, but briefly respond to some of the things previous testifiers have said in opposition. If you'll permit the reductio ad absurdum, the idea that because a zoning use was once permitted that it should be allowed forever is literally insane. So I'm 32 years old, my daughter is 9 months old, and we live on Maui where I think today Civil Beat reported 15% of all the housing stock is being used as short-term rentals. The idea that because people who are now dead decided that this was a good use of limited housing stock and a good use of land use and a good zoning policy, that because those now dead people decided that all future generations will have to be bound by that is, I mean, to be quite frank, not democratic at all. Over time, we evolve in our ideas. If we hadn't evolved in our ideas, zoning wouldn't exist. The entire concept of zoning was invented to separate uses and correct for mistakes that were being made in industrial age England. We can evolve and change over time, and we should. So I would urge you to support this measure. Obviously, take those common sense amendments that have been suggested and make sure that it's a workable policy. The idea of giving the counties the authority to amortize uses over time is just sensible policy. And it's the kind of thing that we have to do if we're serious about our children and our grandchildren being able to afford to stay. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Stephen West, in support. Robert.
Not present on Zoom.
Robert Enriquez, in support.
Not present on Zoom either.
Thank you. Aitulongi Ala, in support.
Not present on Zoom.
Leonard Nakoa III, in support.
Yes, sir. How's it?
Good morning.
I stay. Good morning, brother. Yes, sir. Hey, I want keep one shot. Yeah, us guys over here in Lahaina, we just like, keep them simple. Get short STRs out of our neighborhoods. And we sit down here at the Kanapale for make sure people can get long-term housing like that. So, yeah, go get them, bro. Yeah, you're never gonna. Bye-bye. Shoots.
Mahalo, Mr. Nakoa. Kaiulani Akamine, in support.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Kai Nishiki, in support. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm testifying from Maui, and I know you folks have a busy day ahead of you, so I'd like to just stand on written testimony and support Councilmember Keani Rollins Fernandez proposed amendments and her comments overall. Mahalo nui.
Thank you very much. Brad Tomlinson, in opposition.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
And Vlad Gurovich, in opposition. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me opportunity to speak. I strongly oppose yet another attempt at hotel industry lobbying government to kill competition under the guise of affordable housing. Hotel industry representatives just minutes ago claimed they want to reclaim housing. Well, on my island of Oahu, non-hotel short-term rental units represent less than 1% of all housing units on the island. And we all know what's causing the Hawaii housing crisis. Somebody earlier mentioned the UHERO report called Measuring the Burden of Regulations in Hawaii that was released in 2022, and where it stated, and I quote, "One of many factors that may explain incredibly high home prices in Hawaii is that government regulations has severely limited the ability of housing market to create the units necessary to meet demand." Right now on my island, there is 365 days backlog of building permits. So instead of targeting an industry that benefits local economy, that pays cleaners, maintenance people, and others who provide services to short-term rental properties, at the behest of hotel lobbyists, you guys should focus on streamlining the building regulatory nightmare that we are experiencing on Oahu right now. Again, I strongly oppose this. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. That completes the list of testifiers who registered. Is there anyone else in the room or online who would like to testify on this measure?
Hi there.
Hello. Good morning.
Aloha. Hi, good morning. My name is Alex April and I'm with Airbnb. Mahalo for the opportunity to comment today on SB 2019 or 2919. So I also stand by my testimony, but I did want to reiterate that there is over $100 million at risk of state TAT. So if passed, SB 2919 would significantly reduce the state's ability to make ends meet under the current budget. And I apologize, I was planning on being there in person today, but came down with a sore throat and cough, and so didn't want to get anyone sick, but I will be around for questions. Mahalo.
Thank you for testifying remotely. Just to clarify, you are testifying in opposition.
Correct, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I would ask the clerk to just double check to make sure we have her testimony in the record. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else online and then second time in the room who would like to testify? Anybody outside who can hear us? Okay, members, any questions? Vice Chair.
Thank you. Questions for Department of Taxation and I guess Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. As a follow-up, to your initial comments, I wonder if you could provide an overview of how Department of Taxation is currently working with the various counties in terms of information regarding locations and identities of some of the individual property owners that may be participating in short-term rental activities. I believe different counties have different conditions. So I know when the Honolulu City Council tried to adopt its ordinance, we ran into issues that were different from other counties.
Well, the tax department solely administers the transient accommodation. We don't certify whether they're verified under their counties. So they file with the tax department, voluntarily they comply, and we just administer it.
Okay, but the Department of Taxation has also entered into agreements with various platforms to provide certain type of information so that the platforms and the individual counties are able to better identify and to regulate those who are compliant with particular counties' requirements. Is that kind of an instance in which your department is currently working with the counties as well as the platforms to identify and ensure that there is appropriate compliance with whatever county ordinance is being utilized?
I can go back and look at different platforms that have registered with the tax department. There is a requirement that the platforms do register. So I'm not aware of which platforms have registered. I know Airbnb has, for one, because they've been sort of targeted. But we're not working closely with the counties on compliance. I'm not sure I understand. Yeah, so
Perhaps.
in that way, you know, so Airbnb, for example, some of the bigger platforms will file their transient accommodation tax every month for all the transient accommodations that they manage. And then outside of that, each person or the manager will file for their transient accommodations. But we don't necessarily certify where those places are and whether they are within certain county requirements. We just administer and collect that tax.
Okay, well, perhaps if we could ask your department to respond to some written questions. I'll follow up with the chair to put the questions into a format that, you know, the department can respond to. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Question.
Chair, well, we'll go Senator Mercado.
Is there someone from the county?
We have one county council member and we have the Hawaii State Association of Counties.
Okay, so the question is, doesn't this fall under the county's jurisdiction? I mean, I was on the council and I chaired zoning for 12 years. So can't you folks regulate it if you so choose, whatever's in this, other than maybe defining residential?
You're talking about regulating short-term rentals?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, you can, right?
Yes. We just need your help with the 2 amendments that I proposed in clarifying that short-term rentals, vacation rental use is not residential use.
Right, so the definition of residential, other than that, you
Yes.
can do everything else. Yes, and it.
Yeah, and to clarify that each county has the authority to define what TVR is.
Right. And I guess in reply to the individual that talked about zoning and how dead people do that, the fact that all current legislators who sit now obviously agree with the zoning, otherwise they would change it. So it's not necessarily dead people that put this together, and that it is not stagnant because you can change it if you so choose, right? And you're elected by the people. Okay, I just want to make that clear because it seems as though, you know, we're being accused of having these old laws, and they aren't old, but we keep affirming them or we change them. So I hope that the public are aware and educated on this, and that they can talk to their legislators. And having been on the council, along with some of my other colleagues, home rule is very important. And I think that, you know, the county should be the one to make these decisions.
Absolutely, Senator.
Thank you.
And in HRS 46-4A, it only allows for the amortization in 4 different zoning districts. So we would need your help with that as well.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Chair DeCoy? Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we will recess for decision-making. Okay, we are back for decision-making on the 9:35 a.m. Friday, February 2nd agenda regarding SB 2919. After conferring with the co-chairs, the recommendations for this measure are as follows. It's to pass this measure out with amendments. We will add preamble language to this measure to make it clear that the objective is to reiterate our support for home rule and empower the counties to make decisions on transit vacation rentals. Accordingly, we'll delete section 1 of the bill, which are the DCCA regulatory provisions. We will delete section 2A subsection 13 on page 18, lines 8 and 9. That's relating to the hosting platform provisions. We'll also delete the definitions in section 2, page 20, line 19 to 21. These are definitions regarding booking service, hosting platform that relate to subsection 13. We'll also delete the appropriation language in sections 4 and 5. Since section 1 is gone, there is no need for an appropriation to the DCCA. And we will adopt the second and third amendments submitted by counsel for the Hawaii Hotel Alliance. So I'll read them quickly. Mr. Louis Kwan, as submitted in the testimony, which is to delete the paragraph on page 20, lines 13 through 18, and insert the following on page 20, line 10. Single family or duplex or agricultural uses provided. However, that transient accommodation uses may be amortized or phased out in residential or agricultural zoned areas. As used in this section, residential use does not include transient accommodation use. And the third amendment submitted in Mr. Louis Kwan's testimony, which is to insert the following definition in section 2. Transient, quote, transient accommodation uses, unquote, has the meaning set forth in chapter 237D, which is the TAT section. The payment of transient accommodations tax shall be prima facie evidence of transient accommodation use. We will also defect the effective date of this measure to July 1, 2040. Any discussion?
So,
Senator Richards.
yeah, thank you, Chair. So clarification for in agricultural land, because we got people on Big Island that are using the platform to help them build farms. So, and I agree with the home rule. We're struggling with this on the Big Island right now. I'm just trying to get clarification.
So, if you reference the proposed amendment 2 suggested in the testimony, let me reread the amendment because I began in the middle of a sentence that started in the existing statute. Okay. So in the bill, from page 20, line 7, the sentence begins accordingly. In no event shall such amortization or phasing out of non-conforming uses apply to any existing building or premises used for residential, single-family or duplex, or agricultural uses. However, that transient accommodation uses may be amortized or phased out in residential or agricultural zoned areas. As used in this section, residential use does not include transient accommodation use.
So over time, that will phase out.
So what we are doing is proposing to empower the counties to make those determinations in the zoning.
Yeah, and I think that's reasonable for the home rule thing that Senator Kim has talked about.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair SB 2919, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator McKelvey?
Yes.
Senator Richards?
With reservations?
Senator Awa.
Aye.
Okay, measure passes. 4 in the affirmative, 5 in the affirmative.
Thank you very much.
Committee on Energy, Economic Development, and Tourism, same recommendation, chair goes aye.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Favela. Aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted. Thank you. For the Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental, and Military Affairs, same recommendation to pass this measure with amendments. Any discussion? If not, Senator Fukunaga, I vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Senator Elefante is excused.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My
Aye.
apologies.
Thank you.
I vote aye. Senator Rhodes? Senator Awad?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Measures adopted.
Thank you. Senator. Is that everyone? All right, thank you very much. We are adjourned.